Welcome back, YouTube pipe smokers. This is Spurgeon Piper. This is Wilson with you. So today I'm not covering a pipe smoking related topic. I'm covering a pastoral ministry related topic, theology related topic, which I occasionally do time to time just to throw something different in. So Tuesday mornings, I usually focus the most of my day on sermon preparation. There's a few days a week that I have real heavy focus on it. Though throughout the week, I'm really doing preparation for my sermon on Sunday morning. So I talk about that, and what does that look like? When I say I'm prepping, am I just writing out some ideas about a passage in the Bible? What's going on there? And I realize a lot of those who are not really around the Christian or church world, they hear that, maybe they don't know all what's going on. Sounds maybe easy, sounds maybe hard, who knows. So I want to give you just some basic insight on what I do. It's nothing in depth, it's nothing heavily in the topic. There's books written on this and things like that. So this is just basic what do I do and how long it takes. So for me, I'll let you know it takes me to focus on my main message for Sunday service on the Lord's Day on Sunday morning. And it's going to take me anywhere between 12 to 15 hours at least. So that's throughout the week, starting Monday morning, usually through Saturday evening, sometimes even into the next Sunday morning. I am working on a specific passage. Well, what passage am I going to be working on? Well, I really am focused strongly on expository preaching, which is a fancy word of meaning I focus on the purpose of the text itself. And that usually involves preaching through a book of the Bible. So right now, for instance, I'm going through 2 Timothy. I was looking for a book that focuses on 2 Timothy over here. So I got this commentary on 2 Timothy. It's actually on the other letters of Timothy and Titus. And why do I do that? What's the big deal? Why not focus on 12 ways to make better or handle your money better, or 6 ways to have a better marriage? Well, first off, I want to handle the word carefully, and I want to make sure I'm focusing on the purpose of the text itself. So what can happen is if I preach a sermon on 6 ways to have a better marriage, I can drop or hop from passage to passage throughout the Bible, and I can find passages that, oh, hey, that speaks about weddings or marriages or husbands or wives, and that there can be uses of that. But a lot of times, when someone does that, when a pastor does that, passages can be taken out of context. And I want to involve the whole purpose of a letter, the whole purpose of the New Testament, and the whole purpose of Scripture itself, and take all that into consideration in the passage I'm working on. So that's why normally 90% of my church's diet from me is me feeding them the purpose of the text and working through the full book or full letter that I am preaching through. So this coming week I'm preaching through 2 Timothy chapter 1 verses 8 through 12. And so in these letters I'm really taking them bit by bit because they're really deep and rich. The Apostle Paul writes very deep and rich. So what does that look like? So I know what I'm preaching in. I know going forward, usually months ahead of time, what I'm going to be preaching through. That might change a little bit, but overall, I'm going to focus on the passage and handle it bit by bit. So what I do then is I take that portion I'm going to be going through, and I'm going to show you an example from last week. This was 1 Timothy. Actually, I'm showing you this week. This is 1 Timothy 8 through 12. I know you can't see it well. I just printed it out on paper, though I do, of course, obviously have a Bible. This is like my main Bible I work with. But I print it out for purpose so I can write notes. As you can see, I'm writing notes. I make different address different key points. So I'm reading through this slowly over the week, and I'm mulling over it. I'm praying over it, and I'm reading through it in the context of the whole letter, the whole chapter, the whole passage, and seeing what are the key points, key themes, key words. So I'm doing that, especially over Mondays. On Mondays as well, I'm looking at the original Hebrew or Greek languages. So for Hebrew, mostly Old Testament, there's some Aramaic. New Testament, primarily Koine Greek. And so I'm working with the original Greek languages. I look at the original, some original manuscripts that I have on hand through Logos software. So it's not like I have the actual manuscripts on hand, but I'm looking at some of the original manuscripts, and I'm comparing them to some of the translations I use. Some more modern English translations, some older English translations, and so I'm just kind of seeing how maybe they can be translated a bit different, the wording there. And so that's taking up mostly Mondays and Tuesdays. I'm not looking at how can I apply it to you if you're in my congregation. I'm looking more at what is the meaning of this text and of the word. What is the author seeking to convey to his original audience? How does this work into this whole scope of Scripture? Because it's all tied in together, you see. So I'm looking at the New Testament, how it correlates. I'm looking at Old Testament, how it correlates. A lot of times the New Testament is fulfilling things of the Old Testament or is using things in the Old Testament. So I'm looking at all these things, putting them together Monday, Tuesday, main focus, work with the passage itself, the meaning of that passage, not application, not how this does pertain to me, not how this pertains to my congregation just yet. So Mondays I'm doing that. Tuesdays is even further into that. And then Tuesdays I'm going to start doing something else. I'm going to start working with a more exegetical commentary. Exegetical, what does that mean? Well, it's more of someone who's more of a scholar, who's looking at the original languages themselves, looking at their insights as well. So I showed you this book earlier. This is a hefty commentary on the letters to Timothy and Titus. So I'm just looking at 2 Timothy, looking at the passage, looking at the insights from the author at hand. For this one, this is Philip H. Towner, and I'm looking at insights from him. Well, why am I using other people? Well, because I'm a finite human being, right? I'm not as arrogant to believe I have it all figured out. Even Scripture speaks that Christ has given us the prophets, teachers, and preachers throughout history to the church for the purpose to building us up in the faith. So we're not tossed to and fro by every waves of doctrine. He's given us teachers, and so not just the teachers of the church that you go to or that you can go downtown to, but throughout church history. And so I'm only going to be letting them pour into me as well, just like a pastor pours into you. So I'm going to be looking at more heavier focused stuff on the text. I might pull from a couple of sources there. Then as I look at key themes in that passage, maybe that passage does speak about marriage. Maybe that passage speaks heavily on the doctrine of God, or on salvation, or on the ecclesiology, or on the church. So I'm going to be looking at maybe some assistance there at some systematic theologies. Systematic meaning those who focus in works that focus in on those precise topics and how they pull from different places throughout Scripture. One of my favorite ones that's been around for the 16th century is Francis Turretin's Elliptic Theology. This was in the past decades just translated into English from Latin. So I might use him. I might use John Gill, one of the earlier Baptist theologians. I might use Thomas Aquinas on something like that as well, his Summa Theologiae. So those are some backgrounds on more systematic theology that I might use to help me understand some things going on in the text. So then I get that, and I have my outline working out. This is what the passage means. I can break it down a little bit just for assistance for myself and for the congregation. Then we get more into the later parts of the week, and I have my outline, right? I kind of just a basic outline of how I want to work through the text. Then I'm going to look at some extra notes of myself, coming from myself, and as I meditate over this passage on, okay, how does this apply to the church? How does it apply to me? How does it apply to husbands and wives, children? How does it apply to mothers and fathers? How does it apply to the 80-year-old in the congregation? How does it apply to the 15-year-old in the congregation? How does it struggle or deal with those who are struggling with various issues in their lives? I want to cover that whole scope. I want to apply the text to the people. And so what I'm taking then is notes from the passage, how can this be fruitful for them, and start giving some application of the text. That begins with just myself, as I mentioned. And then I'm going to start more towards the end of my sermon preparation. I want to start using other resources again because I don't know everything. Others can give me insight. So I want to use other resources like a great one, John Calvin. He writes some great things on in his commentaries. Charles Spurgeon. More modern things is one right here I have a hard copy of, and that's by Brian Chappell and R. Kent Hughes. So just there's various ones that you can use. There's a host of ones. Everyone has their favorites. I'll pull from 7 or 8 different ones. I have a lot of them on my computer as well, and take a look at them. And so as I get all that together, then for my outline and for my notes, I then do manuscript. Manuscript means I write out my sermon essentially. Now that doesn't mean I write it out and I'm reading everything like this on Sunday mornings, but it's a good guide for me. And maybe I want to be careful at certain places, or maybe I'm losing track of what my thought process on the Sunday morning. So I have it right here to just help go through, and I can hit on some certain points. So that's a broad overview of what my sermon preparation looks like. So I begin it Monday mornings, Sunday afternoon, Sunday evenings, sometimes even Sunday mornings. I'm tweaking it, I'm looking over it, I'm reading it, and just adjusting it. And that can take, again, 12, 15 hours, maybe a little longer, depending on the passage. So there you are, guys. That's about it. If that's confusing, or if you have questions or whatever, please let me know. I've never really explained it in detail to anyone, so that may have been helpful. That may have left you confused. You can let me know either way. That's all I have today, guys. Tuesday, I'm going to be dropping a review of a tobacco blend. And then next week, I'm excited to have a release of a video interview I had with a dentist, Jonathan Spurgeon. So I'm looking forward to you seeing that as well. Until then, guys, y'all take care. You have a great week, and we will talk to you soon.